Everybody, it's Tony George from DocSports.com. It's Tony's Time, our weekly feature with fellow Doc Sports handicapper Doug Upstone, and we're talking golf, and we're talking some free picks for you this week in the Memorial at Murrayfield Village. And, of course, Doug, last week, the same golf course was used for the Workday Charity Challenge. And, of course, they've ramped up this course this week for Jack's tournament. And I just looked at the weather here. Looks like we could have a little bit of weather on Friday with rain. 90 degrees and cloudy tomorrow. On Thursday for the start, 89 and rainy on Friday. And then over the weekend, 90 and 93, partly cloudy and sunny, and probably a lot of humidity. A little smaller field this week than last week in this tournament, Doug. But nonetheless, last week's tournament, we talked about this on last week's show. This is a very tough golf course over 7,200 yards or 7,400 yards, par 72. Doug, the winning score was minus 19 on this golf course, where in the Memorial the last couple of years, the cut line has been +2 and +4. I think we're going to see a lot different golf course this week for the players when they show up to play in Jack's tourney.
Yeah, I would say so. Generally speaking, last year Patrick Cantlay won, and he shot 19 under also last year. And the thing about that is that tied that's the second best ever. Tom Lehman, and I believe it was 1994, shot 20 under. So it's with the length of these guys, Tony, anymore, it's really hard to really trick up a golf course unless you're going to narrow the fairways. Now, as we talked about a little bit last week, and it points to this week, the rough is going to be 3/4 of an inch to an inch longer, so that will help. So any ball that is hit, because there's no fans, I would say 7 yards or further into the rough, it's going to be a more difficult shot. And the other thing that's going to be the case, you saw it actually a little bit last Sunday, is the greens will be significantly faster this week. Okay, so that's going to be the other thing that could be, let's just say, somewhat of an equalizer against these guys. But we got a loaded field, Tony. I mean, we got most majors don't have this many good players in them.
Right, and of course, the big news this week, and I think probably a waste of money in terms of to bet him to win, but the return of Tiger Woods this week into this tournament. He's won it multiple times. He loves this golf course. He's made some of his most replayed on video, YouTube, on Golf Channel shots on this golf course on the quest to win it many, many times over the years. I thought I'd give everybody what his odds are, and then I'd get your thoughts on Tiger coming back for this tournament after a long layoff. And this is the first tournament he's come back post-COVID and played this year on the tour. He is plus 110 for a top 20 finish, plus 200 for a top 10 finish, plus 400 for top 5, and plus 2,000 to win it all, Doug. Your thoughts? Many players played this course last week. Big name players. Justin Rose blew up, shot in the 80s. I mean, there's some big name players that struggled on this course last week. We'll talk about my free picks and the back-to-back week winners I've had with my top 10 picks. But it's interesting here to break yourself in on this course, which is going to be a lot more tricked out than last week with Tiger Woods returning. Your thoughts about his return, how he'll compete, and your thoughts overall on Tiger Woods, if there's any value there with any of those finish odds.
To your point, I guess that goes to kind of our idea from last week of fact or fiction. I think it's absolutely fiction that Tiger Woods will certainly, he's got a shot maybe at top 20, but top 10 or winning, I don't see it at all. I mean, you go back even further. He hasn't played, Tony, in a competitive situation in 5 months. Okay. I mean, that that's a tough road to come back. And then against this level of competition that he's going to be facing. So I'm not saying he won't play, well from time to time. Okay. But and speaking of different things, I got some free picks here for you in terms of just some prop bets that are out there. For example, Tiger Woods, number of fairways hit in round one. I'm going to go with over 8.5 at -130 because I think, like he has in the past, he's going to be smart and keep the driver in the bag. So with that being the case, especially since he hasn't played that many competitive rounds, I'll say he stays out of trouble. So I'll take the over 8.5. Number of birdies in the first round, I'm going to go under 4.5. I just don't think he's going to be that sharp. I think he's going to have some issues, and I don't think the putter necessarily will be working. So I'm going to go with the under on that one. And for his best round of golf, which one will be 1, 2, 3, or 4? I'm going to say the third round he gets a little extra sharp, and that's also moving day, that's what they call it on the tour. That means you're either moving up or down the leaderboard, and in this case, I think he's going to be a little bit further down, and he's going to have a chance to move up. So I'll say that will be his best round of golf at +250.
Well, there you go. There's some great props for you, folks. If you don't necessarily want to throw Tiger Woods, into the mix for a top 5, top 10, top 20, there's still ways to have some action on Tiger Woods. And everybody loves when Tiger Woods plays in a golf tournament. The ratings go up, the interest level goes up, and perhaps you can fatten your wallet a little bit with these. One thing about golf versus a lot of other sports, there's so many small bets you can make, where you could turn $50 to $100 worth of action into $500 pretty quick. Last week we had Justin Thomas at +125 for a top 10, and then we had Streelman at +600 for a top 10. I bet both those. I bet Sabatini, and he was one stroke out of a top 10 at +700. And so there's lots of different ways to attack these golf tournaments. Doug handicaps them a little different than I do. I do daily heads-to-heads. Doug does a lot of tourney bets. And those head-to-heads, by the way, have hit 15 out of 20. So get over there to Doc's. They got that. Oh, I pointed the wrong way. Right there. It's backwards. That's free $60. That's a free $60, folks. And the golf cards are $30 each. We usually have at least 2 to 3 head-to-head picks on a daily basis, depending on the tee times. Bear in mind, our picks come out at 8:30 a.m. Pacific. So we have to pick when you're doing head-to-heads. You don't always get all the name brands, so we handicap pretty deep into the field because of the tee times. With 136 players going, we have to take the tee times afternoon Eastern in order for people to have time to get their investment purchased and then go ahead and get their bets in. Doug, this week here, Bryson DeChambeau took a week off. He's been the biggest name on tour, played about as well as anybody on tour, won the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit before he took a week off to rest up for this tournament. He's a past champion on this tournament, a week off after the win. And last time I looked, I think he's second in the overall odds to win the tournament. Your thoughts on Bryson DeChambeau coming in here after a week off with his length? And he got fairly accurate with his length there, especially in round 4 there in Detroit on a pretty tight golf course. Your thoughts about him coming in here this week?
Well, Tony, I mean, it makes all the sense in the world to you have to consider him each and every week. The problem that you run into though right now, I mean, it's almost I'm not going to say it's Tiger Woods, in his prime, but I mean, you're not going to make any money. I mean, you're looking at a lot of really short numbers for him to win, okay, in a variety of different things. And to pick a golf tournament winner in any situation is a difficult task. And then you add in, as we just talked about, the type of field that we're talking about here, to where there is literally, I would say, at least 10 guys capable of winning this tournament. So I would agree he's worth taking because he's playing so well. The thing is that the best advice in terms of betting that you can give out? I'm going to say no. From that standpoint, I think there's some other things that are out there that are better than taking him. But the closest thing to a guy to winning a tournament, I mean, it's hard to go against DeChambeau right now.
Yeah, it is. And I'm not going to go against him in terms of one of my overall tournament picks here today. And we'll get right to them there, folks, for you here this week. It should be a packed field. It should be a very tight leaderboard. There's been many years, Doug, that this golf tournament has come down to playoffs. We saw one last week with Morikawa in there. And what a finish that was. Justin Thomas draining about a 60-footer, and then he comes in and throws a 25-foot downhill slider in over on top of him to get into a playoff. An unbelievable finish to that tournament last week. And I had a lot of buddies that had Morikawa to win outright and out here in Vegas. So they were really, going crazy. I think it was a plus 375 or something. So they were really – we were watching it together. And, of course, I had Thomas in the top 10, so I was done. I was happy. And we didn't get our heads to head out. And I apologize to everybody. I got a lot of chatter on that on Twitter, at George Sports. You can follow me there because I didn't get picks up on Sunday. Well, they teed off early because of the weather, and there was no way on Sunday to get the picks out, which really sucked because we had a big winner with Viktor Hovland on Saturday. But we're going to have some good matchups for you this week. We're already handicapping them. But at the end of the day here, we're going to talk about my tournament best bets here, and I'm going to lay them out for you right now. And, Doug, you can give me your reactions.
Okay.
We're on a little bit of a 70% run here with these tourney picks for me. Maybe I should be doing tourney picks instead of day-to-day picks on the website because I'm just nailing these left and right. But nonetheless, on a top 10 finish, I'm going to go with the steady Eddie, and that's going to be Bryson DeChambeau. The way his game is, his length off the box, his accuracy, his irons are solid. If his putter is working, he can play with anybody on tour in any tournament anytime because the rest of his game is pretty damn sharp. And I've got a long shot on a top 10 finish at plus 500, a local boy, and that's Jason Day. I don't think you count Jason Day out of this tournament. He's got the game for it. He played fairly well last week. He knows this course well. As I mentioned, he's a Columbus, Ohio resident, and I think that he will come out of the woodwork this week a little bit, and I'm going to throw him in at a top 10 finish. If you are unconfident with his abilities as a sports bettor, he's still got a good number at in the top 20 finishes as well. So, but I think Jason Day will play well. My top 20 finishes, and I think my best bet of the week, and I have been riding this kid all year long in a lot of head-to-heads and a lot of top 20s and 10s, Viktor Hovland. He played well last week. He's young enough to where he can rebound from playing 4 grueling rounds last week and come around and play another solid 4 rounds this week. He's at even odds in the top 20 finish. It's worth a $100 bill to me. I think he can get in the top 20. Also a player that skipped the last couple of weeks, I think will make a showing in the top 20, and a damn good player and playing as good as anybody before the break and a winner of the tournament is Daniel Berger. I think Berger will have a good tournament here. And my long shot, if this guy could have putted last week, he may have been in the hunt and the conversation on Friday. A long shot on the top 20 finish. Jason Day was my long shot in the top 10. Top 20, Brendan Steele plus 550 for a top 20 finish here. And those would be my picks this week on the tournament for the Memorial out there at Muirfield Village in Columbus, Ohio. Doug, your thoughts, if any, on any of those picks? And especially wouldn't mind getting your thoughts on Jason Day. And then, of course, your glorious free picks for everybody as well.
Yes, indeed. The nothing there I can really argue with. I mean, DeChambeau, that seems pretty easy. Definitely a fan of Berger there. That looks pretty solid to me there. I forget what was your second pick? You had mentioned that it might be better to drop him down to a top 20.
Jason Day.
Kind of like that more. Yeah.
Yeah. Jason Day. I thought he had some bad club selection last week. I watched him play a couple rounds. He flew some greens on Saturday. He was kind of making a move in there. He flew some greens over on his club selection. And, if anybody who knows Memorial, if you're over the green for Memorial, you're in trouble. If you're short of the green, you're in a brutal sand trap with the water for the most part. But those downhill lies and thick rough with the green running away from you with water or sand behind it is difficult even for pro golfers, let alone, golf hacks like me and you. You know how difficult those can be. And he put himself in that position. And I think he'll have a little better club selection this week. And I think he's going to scare this. And, of course, Brendan Steele, probably my biggest long shot at plus 550 for a long shot there. But I think that'll be solid. We'll pick up 2 or 3 winners out of that, I think. And, of course, Doug, your thoughts on this tournament. Now, last week I wanted to say this, and I'm not bringing this up in a bad light, but I'm bringing this up in a good light because I'm curious to see if you're going to come back with him, was Cameron Champ last week. You liked him in this tournament, but there's been a lot of chatter, especially on some of the daily fantasy sites, about him this week, coming back with a little redemption and playing a lot better. With his skill set. I'm wondering if you're going to come back on him this week.
Absolutely not, Tony. Just he mailed it in on the weekend. Okay. I mean,
you're pissed off.
A poor start on Saturday, and he checked out about mid-round on Saturday, and I think he shot 80 on Sunday to finish, as I recall, dead last of those that made the cut. So, no, there's a lot of optimism in golf more than you see in other sports in terms of how people might perform. And it's, you don't really see it though. There's optimism, but when you look at the results afterwards, you don't see a lot of that. Week after week, Jon Rahm is right there in terms of, top 10 finish, everything else. Oh, yeah. And we haven't seen Jon Rahm much lately. Was it last week? He shot 63 or 4 on Sunday, but had a couple of 70s before that. So some of these guys, they got to prove themselves. And speaking of proving themselves, last week you mentioned about one shot. Patrick Cantlay had a super day on Sunday, and but he bogeyed 18. And so that dropped them out of the top 5. So I ended up having a real solid week at 11 plus 1150. If Cantlay hadn't bogeyed that hole, it would have been 2350 for the weekend. Yeah. So really good. And then of course, anybody wants to know, you probably heard about this thing with a coin shortage, in the United States. Well, I went to my bookie to get collection. He paid me all in coins. So I have a bunch of coins. So anybody needs coins, give me a call. I'll be happy to help you out, okay, for that. He obviously was too happy with my results last week. So I do have, Tony, though, one more free play for you, and that's going to be on Xander Schauffele. His name is hard to pronounce sometimes here. Last week at the same course, he finished in a tie for 14th. He had a second round 73, which basically took him out of a top 10 finish. Now he currently has the 13th lowest odds coming in this category for a top 20 finish. But he's going, the guys are ahead of him. He's got a struggling Jon Rahm. He's got a Brooks Koepka who's not playing much better. And Tiger Woods, who we've discussed, loves the golf course, going to be rusty in my opinion. Those 3 players are somebody that Xander can jump over. Now, and last week you had mentioned Kevin Streelman. I also was on Kevin Streelman. I had him for a top 20, so that was an easy winner. Schauffele comes into this one, 3 top 20 finishes in 3 starts. He's 8th in strokes gained for putting. He was 14th last year. I think he's a top 20 winner at plus 125 for this tournament, Tony.
Okay, quickly, this is just like a rapid fire rundown here. Just a one or two sentence reaction to what I have to say here. We're going to do this here. You got Rory McIlroy and Dustin Johnson both in this tournament. Johnson's at 17-1 and McIlroy's at 14-1. Your thoughts on their performance this week?
I'm a little higher on Dustin Johnson coming off a win. McIlroy seems like he's a little bit stuck in neutral.
Okay, Rickie Fowler. I have been saying he's been a waste of money forever. However, he did turn it on the last couple of rounds in Detroit at the Rocket Mortgage Classic when he was sitting on the cut number. And I thought he had an above average tournament, a better tournament than I thought he was going to have last week. I was worried about him making the cut. He's sitting at 40-1 here. Your thoughts on Rickie this week? Possible top 20, you think maybe he's catching it or not?
I would say he's a fringe at best, and the reason is, he's gone through a major swing change. He's coming around. Last week was a perfect example. He shot upper 60s in both the middle rounds, but he had a 72 to open with and closed with a 73. So that tells me the golf swing is getting there. It's not there yet, and so to bet him until he's proven it, I'd stay away.
Hideki Matsuyama, he is sitting at 25-1. He played decent last week, couldn't get his putter working. Your thoughts on him quickly this week? Is he worth another top 20 back-to-back or not?
Again, another guy with a possibility, but you nailed it right on the head, okay? It's all about the putter. The guy is as good a player as there is from tee to green, but he gets on the green, and that's where the trouble starts, and he is unreliable. He's a much better player to use in head-to-heads, especially coming off a decent round of golf.
Yeah, that's a good tip right there. Really good tip. So, folks, we gave you our tournament picks. Doug's going to have picks up over at DocSports.com as well as myself. Thursday, we'll begin our head-to-head picks. Those will be out at 8:30 in the morning. Take advantage of the free $60 we give you right there at DocSports.com. Click the link in the description below. Get a free $60. Hey, we're 8 days away from Major League Baseball. We are 15 days away from the start of the NBA. We are 16 days away from the start of the NHL. We are, 10 days away from the start of the WNBA. We got golf. We had another sweep in NASCAR last week on head-to-heads from yours truly. All that's available at DocSports.com, at Doug Upstone, myself. You still doing the ponies, Doug?
Yes, I am. Had Monday, swept the board on Monday. Last Friday, got beat by a half a head from a 5-0 sweep. So I've had some good days recently, and gonna try and keep continuing that. Nail some more winners for the Doc's customers, Tony.
We got all the bases covered for you at DocSports.com. 95% of the stuff you see over there is free. Great content, live odds, scores, articles, video free picks, written up free picks, soccer, Korean baseball. We're covering all the bases for you, 100% transparent. Take advantage of that website. Get it done, and get it done on the PGA Tour this weekend, courtesy of Tony George and Doug Upstone. Thanks for tuning in.